Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Anthony Criniti IV, also known as Dr. Finance, and we're here live on the Dr. Finance Live podcast. We have a very special guest today. We have Jon Kovach Jr. here. He is now a fellow co-author of an amazing book called The 13 Steps to Riches. Hey, Jon, let's get a little smile with that one, huh? Yeah, that's great. So let's welcome Jon. He's going to tell us all about this amazing book. He's going to tell us about himself, an amazing speaker and mastermind expert as well. So welcome, Jon. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I always want to call you Dr. Finance, but I know you by your first name too. So I'm always like, do I call you Dr. Finance or just Dr. Anthony? But I appreciate you having me on the show. And this is awesome. This is exciting. And yeah, I'm doing very well.
Thank you, Jon. All right. So we're going to learn all about you today. So let's, I got a lot of questions. Figure about 2 to 3 minutes each question, give or take. Of course, your beginning story will be a little longer, but we want to start with your story. Tell us about how you got this far, and tell us about Jon Kovach Jr.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a simple farm boy. Grew up in the northern towns of Fort Collins, Colorado. Spent a lot of my time just learning and making mistakes, and that's the beginning of every entrepreneurial journey. Is just building things and watching those things fail or grow or succeed, and taking notes and taking what works and moving forward. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12 years old. Started a vending machine business with my mom so that we could, get out of poverty and go on actual vacations as a family. That's what all the normal kids were doing. And at age 14, I decided to pick up a lawnmower like every other 14-year-old. And then at age 16, I decided that I wanted to become a DJ. And I picked up the microphone, I picked up some speakers, and I started playing and doing very, very well with that. And I realized behind that microphone, I had a lot more power than I had anticipated. It wasn't just about playing music. It wasn't just about getting the wallflowers onto the dance floor and, shaking booty or whatever it was, doing the boogie, whatever it was. It was more about the experience and curating the environment. So I started to delve deeper into that. And at age 18, I started doing some financial stuff. I worked in microfinancing, was providing my own loans to fellow entrepreneurs, and was, providing interest on return for them to basically learn and grow and build their businesses through a, quick cash resource. And then, based through that, I started doing that internationally. I started working with some families overseas and doing some things in the Philippines as well, and decided to go to college. I was like, you know what, this entrepreneur thing, there's probably more I can learn. And though I appreciated my college experience and my education, I will say that the fastest way to learn is to just get out there and do it. But being an 18-year-old entrepreneur, I also have opportunities to speak and train and learn and also be a leader. And that allowed me to kind of become a public speaker. I got to travel and do a little bit more circuit speaking. And I started learning just a little in and outs of leadership and entrepreneurship. And those are the, couple things I started to focus on. And later down the road, somebody convinced me to become a coach. And I said, okay, that sounds fun. And most speakers are coaches. They have programs that they want you to learn more about. And so as a speaker, I became a powerful coach. And I started doing accountability coaching. Accountability was big for me because something that I left out of my story is, though I had entrepreneurship all on the line, I was also an athlete. And I competed in college as a decathlete, which is the 10 events in 2 days, decathlon, track and field, and absolutely loved it. And I didn't know at age 23, I didn't know if I was going to go down this road. It's kind of like the Matrix. I could take the red pill or I could take the blue pill. And the red pill was continue down my road of athletics and, maybe start training for the Olympics, or the blue pill. And I totally muffed that reference, but the blue pill was, try this new thing, try this new route and see the world from a different view. And I chose that pill, or I chose that direction. There was no pill involved, I should say. And I took a lot of time to just focus on growing and learning and building and accountability. And that kind of became Jon Kovach. He became the accountability coach. He became the guy who knows a lot about overcoming challenges. And later down the road, I delved into this term called masterminds. And anyways, that became the connecting piece, the light bulb that turned on in the brain that said, wait a minute, you saying that if I can get people together, if we can mastermind on challenges people are facing, and as a result of that, we can use accountability to fire them up and get them really excited and get them to actually produce results, this is a really good gig. And so I transitioned my whole life and dedication, and I started studying this volume right here. This is Think and Grow Rich. And straight out of chapter 10, I started picking up just every little nuance, every little phrase, every little sentence that I could to learn as much as I could about the mastermind methodology. And for the last 6 years, I've been teaching, training, coaching, speaking, and developing masterminds throughout the world. That's kind of who I am in a nutshell.
That's great, John. Yeah, we're definitely going to get into the mastermind with we got some questions for you for that, knowing that you're an expert. So you started out in Colorado, but you're now in Utah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually moved out here for the college decision that I made. I was competing over there at the Track and Field Association developed with Colorado State. That's in Fort Collins, about an hour north of Denver. And it was actually, it's funny, talk about a financial decision. This is fun. You'll get a kick out of this. It was cheaper. How do I say this? It was inexpensive to move to Utah, pay my own rent, pay my own expenses, live on everything that I had, and to pay tuition in Utah than it was to live rent-free, expense-free, life expense-free in my mom's basement in Colorado and pay tuition in Colorado. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to move out to Utah. We're going to have new experiences and a new life. And I've just been out here since then. It's been a little over 10 years.
How did that work out? I'm just curious. How is it cheaper? You just had better deals, I guess, more opportunities?
Yeah. The economy here in Utah is very, very entrepreneurial, very capitalistic, and the education system here is very affordable. I mean, some of the major universities here, like the University of Utah or BYU or Utah State, the University of Utah is kind of starting to compete with the other colleges, but the in-state tuition, if you live here for a year, drops dramatically. And I mean, you can pay $1,500 to $2,200 to be in to get a degree or less. Like it's pretty affordable. And even if you do trade schools or state colleges, you can get even better deal. So it was just that much cheaper. Whereas it was merely 12 grand a semester to go to Colorado State or go to Colorado Boulder. And so that was how that one worked. And it was, for me, it was a no-brainer because I had no money, but I was willing to work for it.
Wow. That is great, John. So you could probably hold a master class on how to save money.
more so I could hold a master class on how to make money during college. One thing that I got really good at was building resumes, and I was really good at interviewing. I got a lot of I graduated having had 6 internships in my degree, and most people usually get 1. And that's basically the average. And I got 6 because I just got really good at interviewing, getting jobs, and asking for what they needed. And so I would charge my classmates. I say, hey, I'll boost up your LinkedIn account and I'll get your resume spruced up and I'll help you get the job. And if you get the job, you give me a bonus. And it was fun. I made money in college just working and helping my colleagues.
Wow. Thank you, John. Okay, so you're stationed in Utah now. You're an international keynote speaker, pretty much, and we're working on some books. So we're going to get into the books too. But before we do that, I want to step back for a second, and I like to know, just as a follow up. So just a real quick, folks. We had John on the stage in Clubhouse.
That's right.
I got an entrepreneur, part of an entrepreneur club that I run. And John was actually a substitute that night, filling in for Eric Swanson. But he came and he rocked the show, and he was there till like 2:30 in the morning, well, Eastern time. And So John, how did you feel about that experience, man? A lot of the audience, I was getting some great feedback about you, and they were really interested in what you were saying, and you kept them going for hours. So what's your thoughts on that night?
Well, I put my boxing gloves on and came out swinging because it is really, really hard to fill the shoes of Eric, Mr. Awesome Swanson, who I know you had originally planned on, and we had that opportunity to basically have a substitute come in, and my experience is awesome. It's a great club, very, very great community. I didn't tell you this, but I had so many people reaching out through Clubhouse, just thanking me, not asking for any of the giveaways I gave, but just thanking me. And I thought, wow, this is a really good group. And I love that about Clubhouse. You guys attract a really, really great audience, an engaged audience. And, as much of the speaking as I did and the teaching that we kind of conversed on, some of my most impressionable parts were there towards the end when we were all kind of quizzing each other and helping one another, kind of like, in a way fortuitously masterminding with one another. And it was cool. And I know that Dr. Finance here, you decided to do kind of like a game, like a round robin backwards.
I called it reverse Q&A.
That was right.
Instead of the typical Q&A, we reversed it. Now all the people on the panel get to ask someone else on the panel and put them on the chopping block.
Yeah, and I love that. That was a really cool activity. And I hired a guy who helps me run one of my networking organizations, and he's got about 10 years of experience studying play theory. And just these simple activities, whether they're over voice, over video, over Zoom, or even in person, activities like that really create and deepen the experience and the curation that goes into an environment. And I love that. It took me back to my DJing days where really, as a public speaker, we're there to curate an environment where people can learn, grow, have an experience, or walk away with something that they didn't have prior. And that was a really fun experience. And as much fun as it was teaching and answering questions, I had a blast just kind of interviewing and chatting with the other speakers and learning from other people. That was a highlight for me.
Yeah, and we just had a meetup in New York this weekend. A lot of the Clubhouse members, there was like 25 of us, and we ate at the Cut, I think Wolfgang Puck, New York City, and one top restaurant. And we had about 25 people, and we just got a lot of people we've been on stage with. We just got to know each other a little deeper, and it was really cool to see live faces to that. And and I realized how many serious influencers we got on stage. I mean, some of these people were 8-9 figure entrepreneurs, running like really big businesses, doing crazy entrepreneurial stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is so impressive. And we're all together every day. We don't realize how much a lot of the panel superstars, so that's really cool. And you're a superstar. You came out and you rocked the show that night. So that was awesome. So yeah, John, I'm glad you had a good experience. Love to have you back. But getting into some questions. So let's talk about this book, The 13 Steps to Riches, which I just got the copy from Amazon yesterday.
Yeah.
And we are now co-authors. This is one book. By the way, you want to take a quick picture?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't know how to do it, but if you can do it.
Oh, I got
I'll
you.
Smile.
Give me 1 second here.
I did this with Mark Victor Hansen last week, and it worked out really well.
I love Mark. He's just an incredible human being. All right, hold it up.
Yeah, you ready?
3, 2. Got it. I'll send that.
We got to send that to Eric.
Yeah, for sure.
So folks, 13 Steps. This is actually only the first book, okay? And I knew this was going to be a great thing getting into this, but when I got the copy yesterday, John, I got to say, just looking through this, like everything that I thought was already great, like just took it to an exponential level. Like I'm reading through this and I'm looking at all the testimonials from Don Green, CEO of Napoleon Hill. We had Sharon Lechter in here, Dennis Waitley, Steve Sims, Marie Diane, Alex Stern, John Assaroff, who else? Doria Cordova, Kevin Harrington, Shark from Shark Tank. Folks, that's just the testimonials. Then we got an introduction from what is it? Don Green did the intro, I think.
Yeah.
Don Green did the intro, and the forward was from Sharon Lechter, author of co-author Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, this is just book one. We got 12 more, and this is based on the interpretation of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, that book you just showed that rocked the world for 100 years. So, Jon, can you tell us a little bit more about that book? Jon's not only a co-author, he's actually one of the masterminds behind making this book work, actually putting it together. So, along with Eric Swanson.
Yeah, and shout out to Eric Swanson, because the idea of this collaboration was conceived, a little over 4 years ago, and we finally decided this is the year. We're coming out of a really crazy time with COVID and all these wild regulations. We thought, what, the world needs these stories, the world needs these messages, and who better to tell it than some of the experts in self-development, professional development, and finance, and coaching, and speaking, and various sorts. And so this is truly a collaboration book. And a lot of people were like, well, how does it work? I get a lot of questions, and I'm like, have you ever read Chicken Soup for the Soul? If you've ever picked up one of those, this is Chicken Soup for the Soul, but focused on Think and Grow Rich and the principles that you learn. Because if anyone picks up Think and Grow Rich, they're going to think about this process of gaining wealth, right? But this book series goes into so much depth about the traditions, the stories, the experiences, the triumphs, the failures, the challenges that people, not just people, but professionals, like respected individuals, have all had in regards to these various principles. And we teach, we teach, or we train, or we show how the various principle that we're focusing on can help you in your daily life. And so as you just kind of thumb through the index here, I mean, you're going to see a lot of really, really cool titles. I mean, things that might catch you by surprise, like motivation by desire, desires life's journey, believing in desires in existence. Here, I'll read yours, Dr. Anthony. Defining desire. These are all things to help you understand that the first step to riches, or the first step to thinking and growing rich, is desire. And by applying these principles or learning from these stories, you will gain so much more clarity and understanding. But also, I believe that desire is the step to is the first step to the stairway of heaven. It's that which can create all that we need to enhance our belief systems, our faith, our brain power, and everything that biologically, chemically, and spiritually goes into who we are as beings starts with step one. And so we published this book just a few weeks ago, instant national #1 bestseller on Amazon in various categories, and allowed us to start reaching out to bookstores, and also available now in 5 or 6. I just checked my notes yesterday. I've got 5 or 6 bookstores, both online retailers, that are now offering the book, which is fantastic. Obviously, it's got its own ISBN, so it's in the Library of Congress as well. They printed a copy. I wanted to go and hand deliver it to them, but I couldn't make it out to the East Coast. So, but yeah, it's a very, very collaborative piece, and we're excited to continue it. But yeah, we can elaborate more on it.
Yeah. Who can you name some of the celebrities that are going to be in there? Like I named the testimonials, but who are actually going to be the featured authors besides us?
Yeah, we've recruited some of our friends well, some of the top mentors and some of the top speakers and coaches and mentors in our day and age. I mean, this book #1 was featured with Dennis Waitley. Guys, if you haven't picked up The Psychology of Winning, go pick it up. But if you haven't picked it up, pick up his new copy, which is a now New York Times bestseller, or will be a New York Times bestseller. The New Psychology of Winning. Dennis Waitley is an incredible professional. But just to name a few, I mean, we've got 13 of these beautiful celebrities here hanging out with us on the back cover of this page. And I mean, we got Dennis Waitley, I just mentioned. Sharon Lechter is going to be producing her chapter for the book on faith, which comes out on, I believe, August 15th. So cool. You've got Jim Cathcart, one of the past presidents of the National Speakers Association. You've got Steve Sims, one of the founder and author of the book Blue Fishing, which is a New York Times bestseller. Glenn Lundy, who's an incredible individual, who's, I think, the founder of a group called the Breakfast I don't want to say the Breakfast
He's
Club.
not the founder. He's one of the top administrators.
Top man. Okay, yeah, that's right. I always say founder, but he.
Everybody
He's
thinks he's the founder. He's
well,
a great speaker, though.
He's definitely one of the most out there dudes in that group. But we got Marie Diamond. She was featured on the Secret, as well as just an incredible professional in feng shui and interior design. She's just one of the top professionals in the world in that. You got Dan Clark, one of the top 10 speakers in the world. He's a motivational speaker. He's actually in my back door, not back door, but backyard. He's just down in Salt Lake City, pretty close shot from me. Alex Stern, who one of the co-founders of the company Constant Contact, and just an awesome entrepreneurial dude. Eric Swanson, of course, and a few other people will be adding into special features to come for our mastermind copy. Laurel Langmeyer, she's known as the Millionaire Maker. Doria Cordova, incredible speaker. And then John Asseroff and Kevin Harrington, John Asseroff, I should say, from The Secret. He's written his own, and he's definitely the brainiac. And Kevin Harrington, the original shark on Shark Tank, to name a few. We haven't promised anyone anything other than the 13 we've built relationships with and have created an agreement here. But Eric likes to throw people surprises, and we've added a few more celebrity authors to the mix to provide an author and connect, and also to contribute to some of these. And we'll be announcing those later. But essentially, we've brought together a core group, and all of these people individually reached out to us and said, "Hey, I want to cover this topic," and we assigned them to the topic they wanted. And surprisingly, they were all different, and they filled up the 13 principles. So we're really, really excited. And I'll say one thing, and we can kind of move on or add more context to this. But I told all the authors in preparation of this project, I said in our first meeting, I said, look, as much as I am excited to write and contribute and co-author to this book, I'm more excited to the finished product so that I can deepen my knowledge and my understanding and I guess expand how I understand the 13 principles of riches, because they're proven. They're proven points. The Think and Grow Rich wouldn't have lasted this long if it wasn't true, honest, integritous value. And I totally agree with that, and I totally love that. And so I'm excited to learn and deepen my knowledge on every single aspect of the 13.
Thank you, John. Yeah, folks, we're having a little bit of delay with the internet, so I apologize if it's like a fractional second off with both John and I. But so, John, let's talk a little bit more on that book, because I think it's so cool. Like, I'm really just, after I see that yesterday, like, it just made my day. First of all, let's talk about the cover. So I helped Eric to redesign that a little bit. Do you think that looks a lot better than some of the other designs that we had before?
Yeah, and we appreciated the collaboration on that, because this is as much your book as it is ours, and it as much as ours it is yours. And we love the idea. There was some reconstruction that went into the idea of how we wanted to best present this, and we've been enamored by the idea of the light bulb, and but everything else kind of was like, you know what, we should continue to expand on this, and the red and white is really a branding piece, but we love the way it looks, the way it feels. And I was in Powell Books the other day, just looking around and looking at all the financial books, looking at all the business and self-help books, and I had my copy and I put it up there on the shelf, and I was looking at it, and it's like, wow, that stands out. So I love the idea. We expanded the name by giving it an official title, by thus 13 Steps to Riches instead of 13 Steps to Riches, as they are referenced in Think and Grow Rich. And then we also just wanted to highlight the main features. And obviously this is going to be a 13 volume series. So down here in the corner, you're going to see each of the volumes. This one's volume 1, Desire. But as this book expands, and as we get deeper into this is going to be there's going to be a little bit more space here for more words, more space, more awesomeness. But it's a really great design. If you haven't looked at it on a shelf with other books, the spine is just so attractive. I mean, we could talk about the aesthetics all day, but the backside will tell you everything. Dr. Finance's name is here. My name's here. All of our authors who've contributed to this book are on here as well. So it's very impressive, and we appreciated the collaboration and counsel that went into designing the book cover. And you can guarantee that the rest of the series will look very similar. Different words, of course, for each of the volumes, but and the contributing author, but the imagery might change as it will to the idea behind each one of the steps to riches. So something to expect for the future.
Thank you, John. And looking to the future, last question on this, and then we'll move on. So looking to the future, I think that, well, you said Eric, and you guys have some background celebrities you might put in later. I just think that this thing's going to, like, we got 2 years to build this. And look at everything that's happened in just a few months. I just think, like, there are going to be a lot more people wanting to jump in, like celebrities and whatnot. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And like with Don Green, and I mean, it's just all these things keep adding. I don't know. What are your thoughts by the time we get to, like, maybe the third to sixth volume? Do you see, like, this starting to build momentum for media attention and things like that?
Absolutely. I anticipate it really, really taking gear. We went through the normal steps of publishing, first launching it on Amazon, first getting it out there to the world. And as we've kind of paved the ground for the road that which we're going to be traveling, people are starting to notice. Eric and I actually, one cool thing we added to this book was in each of the chapters, the authors have a little bio at the end of each of their chapters. And in their bios, there are ways to contact them. There are ways to learn more. There's a way to go to their websites. And in that, we've been getting a lot of just random, just like out of nowhere, random requests and conversations and people requesting and learning and inquiring more. And we think it's from the book. We think people are picking up this book and they're finding everyone's links and they're finding everyone. So I think people are taking notice, and I think people are curious because they want to know what the 13 steps are. And when you pick up a volume, you're going to get one of the 13 steps. But I do think media is going to be completely this. Right now, the focus is local markets, because if we can dominate local markets, then we will soon be able to expand to national and international as well. We've got authors contributing to the series from Canada, from the UK, from Australia, and some island in the Pacific. I have no idea where it is. And because of all of the international attraction that it's developing, it will take flight a lot faster than we expect.
Yeah,
so I anticipate it really growing.
And John, if you need any links for connections with the foreign rights people, I can connect you with them too. I'm sure you got your own. But if we had a foreign rights team on us, I mean, you could really start doing translations of the book. I mean, there's endless possibilities, and also, so many authors are just the contributing authors really have their own following.
Yeah.
And like I already told everybody about it on Clubhouse. I mean, even if that's 100, okay, which is probably thousands, but let's just say 100 each person. It's catchy. It's going to stick, and they're going to tell 100. I just foresee it really getting big. It's such an important topic that we're covering. This is actually the 13 steps from Napoleon's book, Think and Grow Rich. It's the best-selling book of all time for self-development. So it could build pretty quickly, right?
I agree. A good example of this, I'll share with you, because people listen to this. They're going to listen to this either while it's live, or they're going to listen to it, in a couple months, or just whenever they listen to it. Wherever we're at in the process, they're going to go look up 13 Steps to Riches, and one of the books will pop up, and they're going to pick up that volume, and they're going to realize, oh wait, I'm reading volume 5 out of 13, I guess. And you're gonna want to pick up all 13 copies, because let me show you. I'm going to grab here from my desk here. So everyone's familiar with the book series, The Four Agreements from Mr. Don Miguel Ruiz. And The Four Agreements is a really cool book. It's one of my top listed books in my Mastermind library. It's what I recommend for a lot of people to read if they're looking to get into personal development. But here's that book. So there's The Four Agreements, and a very beautiful, attractive book. It's very, very different in its look, but you've got this nice little spine here. And then when you put this book on a shelf and you see it with its other cohorts, and you see cool. The voice of knowledge, the mastery of love, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to pick up all of those. Like, I've got to get that. And then you realize there's a fifth agreement, and then they sold that one too. And you're like, wait a minute, I've got to have all of those on my shelf because it just looks so cool. It's so attractive. And the same thing's going to be when you pick up your 13 steps to riches. It's going to look so beautiful as you've got multiple copies hanging up on your library. It's going to be not only one thing you're going to dive into and read, but it's going to be an instant party pleaser for your house. And I'm not trying to sell it that way, but I think that when you pick up a copy, you're just going to keep picking them up because they're that impressive and they're that attractive.
John, this is your first book that you wrote?
Yeah, I tell people that it's the first book I published.
Yeah. So can you tell us about your personal experience with this? Like, why did you want to get into becoming a co-author for this amazing group of books?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep it short, but the one thing that I've learned from entrepreneurship is that I've got a lot of great ideas, but ADHD will only take me so far. And I've learned that if you really want to go far in life, you've got to work with other people. And so oftentimes in finances, as well as in entrepreneurship, we use the term leverage. And I use the word leverage liberally because I think that when we leverage the skills and the talents of amazing people, that we too can take our life in a completely unreachable direction that we didn't fathom before. And so my thought on this was, I have been sleepless nights ecstatic because I'm so excited to co-author with so many amazing professionals, let alone the celebrities we get to leverage and claim name to, that I've co-authored with Dennis Waitley. I've co-authored with Dr. Finance. I've co-authored with Eric Swanson. That's a pretty leverageable piece as a resume builder. But even besides, again, my knowledge just by reading and editing and producing this book, my understanding of the principle of desire has grown so much that I've literally looked at people differently in a good way. I've sat at the dinner table with my family and I've thought, wow, like if only we just improved our desires. And it was so cool because I had a better understanding, but I had kind of a clearer concept of what I need to be doing in my life to develop a deeper sense of desire in all the things I want and the things that other people need. So I would just answer and say that this experience for me has been absolutely humbling, to be an organizer behind it and to work with all the authors and to make their chapters shine. That's been a true honor and an opportunity that I couldn't resist. If someone came up to me and said, hey, Napoleon Hill worked 15 to 30 years for free from the Carnegies, would you do the same? And I'd be like, no way. I'd side hustle, right? Like we live in a whole new day and age. But this was one of those opportunities where it's like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this thing a success because of how cool it is to see it come to fruition. And just like Napoleon Hill did, many years ago, and working for the Carnegies on such a divine purpose and mission to teach people these values and steps, I too see it the same exact way. When you pick up the book, everybody, and you go to that dedication page to, I'm sorry, I don't know if we call it the dedication. I think we call it the, let me pull it up here.
Acknowledgement.
There we go. To our acknowledgement page on Mr. Napoleon Hill. I truly like feel his embodiment and his spirit with us as we're perpetuating his mission, as we're perpetuating what he learned. And I love that because I don't do anything unless it leads to perpetual relationships. And this is something where 33 plus collaborating co-authors, a celebrity author, and just the collaboration with amazing people is perpetuating what he envisioned with this community that we get to change the world. And Eric and I were both chatting with our publisher, and we were like, we need to make this book affordable. We need to do whatever it takes to make this book so affordable that it's in the hands of as many people as we can get, because the stories that you guys wrote, the everything that everyone shared is going to change and touch lives. And that's all that matters.
Now, John, some of the people in our circle, they'll charge like $5,000 to $10,000 just to co-write a book with someone. Actually, some people in our circle, $500,000. We know who that is, right?
Yeah.
Just to co-author one book, right? So this, you have a celebrity smorgasbord, and for the co-authors, it's very reasonable. What would you say would be the value if you put it all together? Like if you really wanted to hustle this out to put someone else in there, let's say we can add one more person to this and they want to jump in and get all these masterminds in the books with them to add to their resume. I mean, what would be the hustle value of this? Not the nice guy value that you guys do. And I know you hand select everybody, but let's say just grab just regular person from the street. Like, what would you think that would be?
Man, well,
100,000, a few 100,000, something like that.
I will be bold enough to say I think we could hit the million marker, and here's why. I think as I've been walking around showing the book off, I took a week sabbatical, we'll call it, to drive up the coastline and just hit up bookstore after bookstore and talk to them about what we're doing with the series. We've had the opportunity to recognize that people are willing to buy truth. People are willing to pay for value. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're sick and tired of the what I call the clickbait of books and content, which is anything that attracts to you because they'll use explicitives, superlatives, or just things that will completely set you questioning and wondering, and they're being sucked in and pulled in by these clickbaity topics and discussions and content. And I just think the value of this is far greater. I use this phrase very, very selectively, but I think this is a project that will outlive us. I think that this will continuously bless and serve and help a lot of people. A lot of the times, I'll show you my bookshelf over here, color coded and all. I got our book up there. I've got featured on the main desk over there, Sharon Lechter's new book, Exit Rich. But what I'll tell you is where I find a lot of my books is when I'm book shopping, right? I look for impact. I'm looking for values that I care about. And I usually kind of strategically select those every month or every week. And I try to find books that are just going to hit me where that value I need to learn is. And I find a lot of books that I've picked up because of the attractive nature have led me to not really being satisfied with the answers I've received, but I have found in this book with every page that I'm satisfied. And so I think that's a huge piece to the answer, which is I'm confident that over time we will hit the millionaire marker, because this is an opportunity for anyone. If you're a coach or a speaker or a co-author in this book, you could take this to the streets and sell it from stage and give people really great deals. But we recently did a deal with the authors. We did a giant what do you call that? A bulk order through one of our publishers that allowed us to really bring the price down. And anyone who hustles the book, anyone who gets it out there, the sale value can be anywhere from $10 to $50, right? And but I think that the resale value is still high, which I think is a good indicator of the value of the principles of the book, rather than it being a $2 book that you'll see at thrift stores in a few years from now, which, I don't mind, because that's where people will find the book, right? Yeah, I just want the book in people's hands, but I think the resale value is going to be pretty high, considering the people contributing, the association, the qualities that it provides. Very rarely will you see Think and Grow Rich on a used bookshelf, right? But you'll see other books, and I don't think this one will be that way as well. I think this one will follow suit.
But from an author standpoint, like if you had to inject one more author in there from the streets, you would say it'd be about $1 million if you were trying to hustle them, to get in here, to give them the higher end of the value, just to be able to add to the resume and say, you got the co-author with Kevin Harrington, all these great people.
Yeah, okay, I understand now. Okay, that's a great question. I think if anyone was, to come off the streets or wanted to co-collaborate, I think that the value is astronomically higher than what we've all brokered with our current collaboration. Normal publishers are charging 10, 15 grand for stuff like this. And they promise the world, and we kind of took a different, yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. We kind of took a different approach. We wanted to get the right people in at the right time, at the right cost. Smart. and allow ourselves to be true marketers and to put this in the hands of other people. So, for those coming in off the streets or wanting to collaborate or connect, or those celebrity authors who are still like, wow, how did I not get invited to this? And if you're offended and you weren't invited, just email me. Okay. But, knock on our door. Put you down
for a future book.
Exactly. It was interesting though. I mean, this really is something this collaboration idea is a very, very unique perspective. So I'm a big fan of it. And I know that you're no stranger to books too, Dr. Finance. You've published a few, you've authored quite a few books yourself. And I mean, book value is a very, very interesting thing, but as far as what's being charged and what's being produced, I'd say that if anyone wanted to join up on our collaboration, I'd say just let us know, because we want to bring the right people in. But there's probably going to be an associated rise in value to that as well.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. And by the way, John, I got to get you a copy of my books after this. I apologize for not sending that to you before or offering that, but as soon as we get off, we'll connect about that.
Oh, that's great.
Because I got to add them to your bookshelf, because I see.
Hey, that's right. My greens are a little dissipated. Yeah. I need a few more greens up there.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, John. So we're gonna get into a series of our other specific questions. Figure about 1 to 2 minutes for each. Okay. And that will take us to a good amount of time, if that's okay with you.
That sounds great.
All right, John. So you are a master at masterminds, and you're very young relative to a lot of your competitors. And can you explain? Now, I'm going to ask a series of mastermind questions. Try to stay around the theme, because I don't want to overlap it. So why are let's start back. What is the history of mastermind? And the reason I'm asking you that question, because I know you've studied it. So what is the history of masterminds? Let's start with that first.
The day that one human connected with another human and they created ideas together. That is the history of masterminds. Depending on where you believe, what your background is, or faith, belief, religion, or denomination, whatever it is, the history of mankind, that collaboration has been the mastermind methodology since the beginning. And I truly believe it's a divine an inspired concept. But you can date back to historical masterminds from the contributors to the Bible, the Quran. You can date it back to those who got together and forged a nation, created laws and constitutional rights and congressional appeals and so forth. Anytime any group gets together and tries to make something happen, they're utilizing mastermind methodologies. But the mastermind we know today was basically coined in the early 1900s, actually in the late 1800s, but Thomas Edison was probably the father of the idea of the mastermind. As Napoleon Hill interviewed him and talked with him, became really close friends, he and the Carnegies used this mastermind methodology to truly enhance and accelerate their wealth. He talks about it in Think and Grow Rich a lot, but you'll find a lot of history. I mean, I can't remember offhand how, and I'll keep this short, how it all, I don't remember the time frame, but there were groups of authors who got together, infamously known as the Inklings, some of the top writers in the world, J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and various groups of amazing authors in our time got together, and they would write their books together, and they would have kind of like a book club, but they were one of the original, preconceived and imagined masterminds, because they helped one another overcome challenges, solve problems, and to focus on the things that they needed to do. And that was really the inspiration behind the methodology, which was formed into, now it is coined as the phrase mastermind. It could also be used as the term peer groups, support groups, community. Those are all associated bywords that have to do with the word mastermind.
Thank you, John. And guys is under a lot of different names too, like think tank.
Yeah.
And then plus it's becoming more, the mastermind is becoming more mass produced these days. Like a lot of just common people are starting to use it now. And let's explore that topic a little better. So why are masterminds so important?
I believe, to the center of my soul and to the ingrained DNA that I provide, that masterminds are truly and innately the process of accelerating achievements in life. And it doesn't have to be about success. It could be about service. It could be about overcoming challenges. It could be about triumphs. It could be about just about anything in this world. And I believe I will go to my grave. I say I will go to my grave defending what I call the mastermind methodology, because I think that if it stemmed from the foundations of families, the foundations of governments and municipalities and education and corporations, if we understood this principle and utilized it within those organizations, we too would have an accelerated success achievements in all of those areas, and as a byproduct or as a consequence to all of those, the world would be a better place. We completely utilize and need mastermind methodologies, and the reason why is because as humans, one of our greatest validators is connection. We need connection as humans. It's hard for humans to be solo. It's hard for them to be nomads and by themselves. They need some sort of connection, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual. All of the connection pieces are innately built into the DNA of mankind. Therefore, mastermind is basically a necessity for how important it needs to be in every part of our lives.
Thank you, John. Perfect response. So one last question on mastermind as it relates to yourself. So what role has masterminds played in your life, especially being a mastermind expert with a lot of background in masterminding?
Yeah, I used to think that you paid to be in a mastermind, but it's expanded. And I do tell the story, and if you haven't heard it, you can go watch one of my keynotes, or you can actually listen. Well, I guess you can't listen to that one, but yeah, anywhere on YouTube. I talk about my first mastermind experience being that I had just quit my job. I needed to make money. And I stumbled upon this mastermind. I attended the first meeting, and they told me the price. And they said, "Look, if you can pay it, you can stay." That was the agreement. And so I drove Uber. I delivered pizzas. I extracted what is that called? Donated plasma and blood. I did whatever I could to, one, pay my bills, keep my family alive, and to afford this mastermind. And I did. And 9 months later, it changed my life. I tripled the income I had prior. I built several businesses. I started my first book, and basically my life was completely turned around. But in short to all this, I think that the mastermind methodologies impacted every area of my life, because now, Thanksgiving dinner tastes different when you're masterminding with your family, and you feeling that love and that support and that camaraderie that you get when you're together. And I also, I like to throw this in there, that I don't do anything any day just doing what the regular entrepreneurs or business owners would do. We no longer host meetings. I think meetings are a waste of time, and I think they're a waste of resources. Everything we do is based on the mastermind methodology. So if we host a meeting, we host a mastermind, and we conduct it. We make sure that there's a time clock. We make sure that we're on time, that we're prepared. We make sure that the environment is correct and right, so that the best outcomes come of it. And I do that almost in every area of my life. I mastermind with myself in the mornings when I complete my morning schedule, my rituals and my routines. When I'm hanging out with my peers or my colleagues, we don't waste time. We take the opportunity to mastermind together. And so I've built it into the ingrained DNA of my businesses, my organizations, and my collaborations. And that's how it's impacted me. It's become something that's so natural, but yet so satisfying that, one session here or a 90-minute meeting there, my life has changed, and everything I walk away from allows me to expand and grow and to accelerate the successes and achievements in my life.
Thank you, John. I knew I would get that story out of you. Folks,
Yeah.
I want you just to reflect on what John just said. So he did everything he can to get into first mastermind. He didn't have the money, but he went, and you even said, I think in Clubhouse, you cleaned toilets and did anything that really it took to add up the money to get into this mastermind, because he knew that was going to change his life. So he did what it took to build up the wealth to sign up for that first mastermind, and it changed his life. That's determination, folks. That's what it takes to be an entrepreneur. If you plan and you know this thing's going to work, you do what you got to do. And John is a perfect example of that. So I love that story, John. Thank you for sharing that with us today.
Absolutely.
All right, John. So we're going to pivot now, and we're going to go into speaking, because that's another side of you that I wanted to talk about. Why is speaking such an important skill for experts? So we have about 3 questions on speaking, and we'll start with that one. Why is speaking such an important skill for experts of all kinds? I mean, you could be a bus driver, an envelope stuffer, every kind of expert out there, right? Like, could become a speaker to speak about what they're an expert in. So why is it important for them?
Yeah, they say that the biggest student in any room is the teacher, because you learn more the more you project, the more you teach, the more you explain and share. But going back to the innate nature of humankind, we naturally want to connect with others. And by, one of the best and most effective ways that we've discovered as humans is service. And so speaking and teaching is an accelerant, I call them, but they're the fastest ways to creating that ability to connect with other people. So one, it's essentially allowing human nature to be fulfilled just by speaking. The second one, as an expert, is this is the perfect platform to use your voice, whether audible or not, and create a dialogue that's going to teach and serve other people. I really, really love the quote by Zig Ziglar, which is, and I probably misquote him here, but Zig Ziglar used to say that, you can have anything in this world if you'll help enough people get what they want as well. And I think that that's part of the principle. Speaking for experts is a great way to get what you want by helping others get what they need. And I think that's just one of the most selfless acts that we can commit to. Whether you're in college or discovering your talents or wherever you're at in life, you should enhance your ability to communicate and focus on your skills as a speaker, so that as an expert, you can stand out and help more people, but contribute to the validity and the valuation of life as it is. So I really, really believe that.
Thank you, John. That was an awesome response. So now zoning in a little bit more, why do keynote speakers have so much influence? It seems like, and I was talking with Mark Victor Hansen about this last week. He had made a quote about it, that writing and speaking being the noblest professions on a previous interview. And I interrogated him on that a little bit, but he had some very good, valid points. So why do you think that speakers, why do they gain so much influence compared to all the other professions out there? You can be doing a specific skill set of any kind, a plumber, electrician, but speaking, which is like the highest form, right? Like along with writing, why does that gain so much influence on people so fast?
Great question. I think that speaking has, well, if you think about the science of communication, and in your theory classes or your science classes, communication is essentially we'll just call it a producer. And between one producer to another, there's a channel or a frequency, right? And between that, all life is based on frequencies. All life is based on these channels to which we align with. And whether we're aligned with the proper, the right, the rich, or the wrong, it doesn't matter. Humans will always receive frequencies. And so I think public speaking is one of those enhanced frequencies that allow people to create, again, that dialogue that allows, impact, that creates influence. And so public speaking in general is in a non-biased way, but more of a scientific way, it is one of the fastest ways to create the outcomes that you want by speaking. And I mean, we just like I mentioned, the mastermind principles dated all the way back to what Adam and Eve, or even just like the original humanoids on Earth. Whatever it is, I could say communication has been the number one way to influence people as well. And that's, either audible or speaking or so forth. And I think that's just the way that we connect. It's the way that we build, and it's the way that we get things done. So
thank you, John. And we could reverse this too, this argument,
right,
and say it's also the fastest way to lose influence. If you don't have the social skills and you say all the wrong things, it could really go the opposite direction. So John, you've been a speaker since you were 19 years old, correct?
yeah.
All right. So how has being a professional speaker changed your life, especially considering you have some great insight. You started very young, and I actually see you as your own version of a lot of the big speakers like Brian Tracy, et cetera. I see you like, I always thought, you're welcome. I always thought, like, what would these guys look like if they were younger? Like seeing them right now. And knowing what I know of you in a very short amount of time, John, especially spend so much time on stage with you in Clubhouse, about 7 hours or more. And like, I just see you as one of those guys, like in their younger age. You got all the qualities of what it took to make them great, like wrapped up in a younger body. So like, and you started at least what, 13 years ago, 15 years ago, at a very young age. So that's really impressive. And I just, that's why I'm really curious to the question again, which was how has being a professional speaker changed your life?
Yeah, it's since that 16-year-old who was leading dances, in his local town in Colorado. I realized that there was power behind the microphone and speaking and creating an environment where people could learn, trust one another, kind of let down their guard. And speaking has completely enhanced my life. I guess I've always been a natural speaker, but I guess it would shock most people if they found out that as a kid I was actually really shy. And I was shy because I didn't know if I was saying the right things. I didn't know if I was saying, what was supposed to be said, or if I was in context. And I was always confused. But as a shy kid who quickly got over that, I realized that the more I opened my mouth, the more I just connected with people and shared what was on my mind, it would either get me in trouble or it would get me into a lot of opportunities. And I learned those things really quickly. So, my experience as a speaker is growing. I mean, I've been speaking since, 19. I've been in leadership since, whatever. I can't even remember when we started those the clubs of leadership, but I think what's been most impactful is just the people I've met, the people I've spoken to. And I appreciate what you said about the what it would be like to have the younger versions of the greats. The realization that I had at a young age was I could use my voice and impact a lot of people. And so that's when I started picking up books. And the books have been just really, really helpful for me to study and practice. And I have people that I've studied too. I mean, I've watched Les Brown since I was a young kid. I've listened to Brian Tracy and John Maxwell and Stephen Covey and all these motivational speakers. I've watched all of them, but then it got really intense. I was like, wait a minute, I'm starting to see things that not other people are seeing, inflections, the way they speak, the patterns, the motivation, what they did there, how they tied things in. And then it came down to, well, now I'm studying like our national presidents. Now I'm studying different people who get on stages and they motivate, influence people. Tony Robbins is a really cool example of it, because anytime the guy walks in the room, he walks away with several $1 million. And so it's really important to kind of watch and study and figure out what these guys are doing, or guys and girls. I have to say, I've learned a lot from the women speakers in the world. In fact, some of my original coaches and public speaking mentors have been women. And I think that's really important to say, because you get that perspective. But for me personally, it's completely enhanced my life. And when you find a niche that you're good at, and look, you don't have to be destined to be a speaker, but you can use public speaking as a way to get what you want faster in life, because you influence and help other people through it. And it's one of the most powerful things. But again, to your thought there is, yeah, you can reverse it. And it can also be something that can get you in a lot of trouble. And I learned that as a kid too. When you open your mouth and you say the wrong things, well, you better hope that you can either run faster not to get slapped, or you can get out of the way, or you can own up to what comes out of your mouth. And I think that's an important piece.
Thank you, John. Beautiful response. I appreciate that. The honesty, definitely. All right. So what role has networking played in your life? And we got a few more questions. Let's keep it about 1 to 2 minutes so we can stay on track. What role has networking played in your life?
Man, networking has been an amazing part of my life. As a professional, and after I graduated college, I went out into the real world and started to network. I started to build relationships. And I believe in the concept of connection capital. You see, the more people you know, the more capital you have. And people think of capital as, assets, cash, money, right? Wealth. And for me, there's a deeper measurement to capital than just monetary gain. And I've learned that your relationships can be some of the most important things. A human being, essentially, in today's world, believe it or not, could live expense-free and not have to work a day in their life by just knowing enough people and the right people, and completely be influential, have validity to their life, and have so much passion for what they do. That's the kind of day we live in. And I think it's always been that way, because the ability for us to build relationships is just invaluable. It's so valuable that we can't measure its full capacity. I believe in connection capital. in so much that I decided to build my own networking association. I've been to other ones and I respect them all, and I've studied them like I study public speaking. I studied what they do to create the relationships, and I've taken a few concepts and ideologies myself, and have created kind of a different format. And so we in 2019 we launched a networking association called the Champion Circle, which is a mastermind infused or inspired methodology on connecting and building relationships. So I think LinkedIn is one of the most valuable resources that people don't know about, because everyone thinks LinkedIn's like Facebook, where you go and you connect with your friends. Not true. LinkedIn's one of the most powerful platforms for you to build connection capital, in that you build relationships with other people who have relationships. And I think that that's something that people miscalculate. It's not about who you know, it's about who they know and who they have access to. And I think that we can measure the value and success and the valuation of our existence and our lives by those who we know and meet and associate with.
Thank you, John. And I love the idea of connection capital. If you look at, and you talked about wealth, like being a professor, well, none of the finance books, they don't really put that on the balance sheet, because that's where we're going, go under the assets category. But the reality is that's a hidden wealth that like people really don't consider when you're analyzing whether it's a business or a personal balance sheet of an individual, right? That individual connection value, like you said. And the second point I like to make is that what you said about, people can live free and still have a great life without spending any money. I call that concept survival by a third party and prosperity by a third party in my last book, because I was trying to demonstrate that you do need money to survive in this world. There are exceptions, and those are the exceptions when other people can pay for you, kind of like a parent to a kid, right? Or in the case of a friend that happens to be a billionaire, So
Yeah.
it's great. I love hearing it that way. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. All right. So is mentoring important? Who are some of your mentors?
Well, I actually developed a theory on mentorship because I recognized that the people I most wanted to associate with, I didn't have reachable access to, or I was not in proximity to them. But what I did have proximity to was their teachings. And so in my opinion, mentors can be, the person who looks over your shoulder and coaches you through every step of the way. Or your mentor can be a theoretical person from afar who has teachings that you can live by. And so I've got a bit of both. But some of my immediate mentors in person who've truly taken me under their wing. I'll go without saying that Eric, Mr. Awesome Swanson, is completely, been that mentor figure for me, and has had that. But likewise to him, my father has been an essential part of my growth and my ability to be a professional. He's always held me to the highest standards, and he's always conducted our business together in such a way that's really inspired me to be a better person. And some of my immediate friends have become mentors because of the deep conversations and mastermind topics we can cover. But from a distance, I've studied mentors who I most want to become like, and various of the great speakers like Brian Tracy and Jim Cathcart are really great individuals who I find a liking to. And Mark Victor Hansen, who well and have had on the show, he is an incredible human being, and he's someone I've been mentored by from afar, even though he wouldn't even, if you said my name to him, he probably wouldn't know it offhand, just because I'm a friend of a friend through association. So but really great people. Les Brown, I've studied his teaching topics, and I've been to some of his groups and masterminds without even actually meeting the guy in person. I've learned a lot from him. And I would say that though past and gone from us today, one of my distant mentors has been Napoleon Hill. Don Green is also one of those individuals. His stories and his collaboration in perpetuating the Napoleon Hill Foundation has been a really great thing to me. A few religious leaders, a few world leaders as well. Most of them are actually past, gone, and dead, and their words exist on my shelf right now. So it's all part of that. But yeah, my theory on mentors is that you should find multiple mentors, and they should be either within access and within proximity, or they should be within reach through various resources. So I've kind of lived my way that way.
Thank you, John. So you definitely, just to sum up, you definitely think mentoring is extremely important, right? To get a good mentor, whatever you do, whether it's, again, bus driving or whatnot.
Yeah, many people try to reinvent the wheel, but if it's been done before, it's been done by someone else, which means it's possible. And really, if the brain can imagine anything is possible. So, your mentors are vital to progress, and almost required to move forward. Whether your mentors are an idea or a person or a human being, it doesn't matter. Mentorship in all forms, including the opposite side of mentoring others, is some of the most important pieces to our existence.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so John, we're going to move into financial questions here. What are your favorite financial books?
Ooh, great
Just
question.
name like 3, something around that.
Yeah, I love this question.
And it's a biased question because I didn't send you my books yet.
That's right. Well, my future favorites, one by Dr. Finance. As you say that, I pull up my Audible because I definitely have built a love and a liking for financial ideals. And I picked up a book which I think everyone should read, Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. It completely eliminates the limiting beliefs on finances and shows you line by line, precept by precept, how wealth can be generated. If you're someone who struggles with finance, there are plenty of great introductory resources to get you going on that process. I was a student of the Dave Ramsey series, and I picked up his books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, without a doubt, goes as far as the some of my top favorites in the foundations of finance. And then one that's kind of abstract, and one that not many people would consider a book on finances, but on the topic of capital, connection capital, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie, yeah.
If you haven't picked that book up yet, that book, just by reading it, will change the wealthiness of your brain and how you connect with others and build those relationships. And so those are 3 or 4 books that I highly recommend for the enhancement of finances and financial institutions.
Good picks. Thanks, John. All right. So do we need money to survive? 30 seconds or so.
We do not need money to survive, but it is essential to the progress of our life and our lifestyle. But money is, I love your quote and this whole, because money is not the root of all evil, but it is a way to get everything you want. And my answer to that is really, really simple. Is money is an accessory to joy, to happiness, and to validity in life. But because it's an accessory, it can also be a commodity that enhances every area of your life. And so it is one of the quintessential pieces to the existence, which allows us to bless and honor other people.
Thank you, John. All right. Is finance necessary for everyone? Why or why not?
Yes. Because just like learning, just like understanding responsibility and integrity, finances is the exact same thing, but backed by principle and backed by capital. Without a doubt, finances over money is more important. Finances teaches you the responsibility, the organization, and just how it all works. The world is built on finances. The world's not built on money.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. All right. And three more questions, and then we're going to conclude. How important is having a purpose in business? And what is your purpose? Well, that's actually two questions.
Yeah. Purpose. Also known as the word desire, right? Everything we do has a reason or a non-reason, which is another reason. And so there's so much purpose in really what we decide to do with our lives. If it's purpose in finances, if there's purpose in wealth, if there's purpose in knowledge, it's all based on what we want to gain out of life. And that in itself is more important than anything else, is what we want and what we're willing to do and get it. And I think purpose is the one that backs it, that gives us our why, gives us our understanding and the reasons behind it all.
And what is your why, John?
I love this question because it could be a million miles long, or it could be as simple as validity, validation, and the creation of wealth with others. My connection capital is expanded beyond what I can calculate. And that's been a huge piece for me, is taking the principles that I've learned and sharing them with others so that they too can find the clarity that it has given me. My why is simply right now to focus on taking the mastermind methodologies to every corner of the earth, giving it an opportunity to develop and to grow just like a flower or a seed would in any organization, including religions, governments, municipalities, education, and even at the proclamation of the family itself. And I wholeheartedly believe that.
So you're very passionate about masterminds. You would think, so you're saying that's your number one focus you want to do in your life, which is a great focus. I just want to make sure, right? So you just want to expand masterminds and learn more about it and make it basically like a science and expand the science of it, right? And teach it to everybody.
Yeah, I'll share this briefly. If you've ever read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, the book Outliers, he talks about what it takes to be great at anything. And he gets into a concept called the 10,000 hour rule. Well, the 10,000 hour rule is essentially, if you want to become the Bill Gateses of any industry or the experts of anything, or, the top athletes, is you've had to have hit a threshold of 10,000 hours or more of practicing, reciting, creating, and doing that one thing that you're working on. And masterminding, leading masterminds, developing and organizing and facilitating masterminds, I'm at about 7,500 hours of that 10,000 hour rule. It's become part of my life. Every day, every week, every month, working on hundreds of hours of masterminds because of how important it is to me, so that I can teach other people and how it will change their lives. So the answer is yes.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. All right. What would you like to accomplish in the next 10 years or so, and why?
Oh man, it's a fun question, because
we're going to have an interview in 10 years. We're going to come back and see if you got everything you wish.
I commit. August 3rd of 2031. Yeah, in 10 years from now, side, I see myself in a completely different spot. I don't know. I don't know that I own a house anymore. I think I live yacht to yacht or house, mansion to mansion. But in 10 years from now, I see us contributing to the world in a different way. And I think that, as a result of the collaboration of this book, I see dozens of authored books between now and then. I see a completely different shift in the focus of personal and self-development. And I see myself being at the, not at the helm of all that, but the team of all that, because I know that there are other people also dreaming of that. And so in 10 years, I see myself on stage with amazing contributors and people teaching the values and principles of life. And that's where I want to be. Yes, I'm doing that now, but yes, I see myself doing it more in the future. but I see us living on stage so that we can get this out to as many people as we can. Alexander Hamilton went to his grave essentially bringing to life the Constitution and all of its rights so that we could, basically live in that. And I think that's essentially where we're headed. Is my life 10 years from now is how much more can we further and progress this idea and this methodology. And that's my goal.
I love it. That's great. Jon, for your age, like, I commend you, man. There's so many people they're lost until their 40s and 50s, and you already got it down pat, and you're like 20 years ahead of the curve or more, and that's the average person. So I love it, Jon. All right. Last question. What would you like to be your legacy to this world?
Oh, I love this. Legacy is such a big topic. And I actually have a friend, pull this up here. I have a friend, and this is no promotion. If you want to check it out, it's on Amazon, but she has this planner called Excel Your Life, Live Your Legacy. And it was the one resource, and I'll hold that up so everyone can see it. It says Excel Your Life, Live Your Legacy, workbook and planner by my good friend. Shout out to Camilla Craigius, one of the original mastermind members of the Brendan Burchard mastermind. But legacy is such an important piece. And her planner actually was the one thing that had helped me hone in and expand my understanding of my legacy. Because if we die today, what do we leave behind? Lots of tangible items, maybe a mess, maybe a few fires, whatever. But what it is that we're finally, what is it that we leave behind in this world? And I think legacy is the one thing that we should build. And my legacy is, I want to be someone who mattered. I think that's what I've always wanted since I was a kid. If you read my chapter in this first book we've co-authored, I talk about wanting to matter, wanting to be an Olympic athlete, wanting to do something that was amazing and great. And I think that creating that legacy of mattering and helping other people is something that you do with the pedal to the floor. And with my legacy, I'd love to leave behind an idea that people can easily obtain that which seems so hard not to obtain. The word mastermind is a pretty, it's a very, very known word, and it's also a buzzword. But I want more than just the millionaires and more than just the wealthy and the successful to have access to it. I think that I can bridge that gap in my lifetime. So that's the legacy I'd like to leave behind.
I like it. That's a big goal, and that's great, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jon. All right, Jon. So before we close out, I'd like to leave the floor for you for a moment to talk about anything you want. It's your floor. Maybe tell us about your website, where they can get more information about you. Anything else? The floor is yours. Thank you, Jon.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank you again. Thank you for this opportunity. I know the caliber of the people you have on this show, and the quality of the people who you have interviewed. That you don't just bring anyone on here, and I completely recognize that. And thank you for the time to honor and to talk to me. And I wanted to pay dividends back to you and share how important this is and how great the message and the dialogue to continue conversations on finances important. I honor and value you, and I would just say this to everybody. I'm easily contactable. Most people, when they get rich and famous, they become non-contactable. But I learned from another dude named Grant Cardone to be omnipresent. And you can find me anywhere on social media. It's always just Jon Kovach Jr. That's Kovach. And I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. And my new favorite is TikTok. That one's a waste of time. But I would just like to leave this with everybody and just let you know that anything in this world is achievable with the right tools. And oftentimes we forget how powerful we are. We forget the dissension in which we came from, our own genealogy, both in science in the physical and in the spiritual. And if you understand and recognize who you are, you will truly understand that you are powerful beyond measure. And I'm quoting Marianne Williamson's quote there, but I do know that when you understand the value of mankind or as a human and what you provide to this earth, you are truly powerful. And so because of that, you can dream any dream and it will become the reality as long as you dream it and dream it and dream it. And I believe that, and I know that that's true. So you can contact me on social media. I like to send people to, if you ever want to just learn about, or you're serious about getting involved in any type of mastermind organization, just go to ridealongguestpass.com. That's RIDE, like ride along, ALONG. Got to test my spelling skills here. And then guest pass, GUESTPASS.com. So ridealongguestpass.com. That'll get you access to a mastermind that will introduce you to what we do and how we help people on a daily basis. Or if you have any questions, want to learn more about our book, I'll take it from Eric Swanson here, and where you can just go to decidetobeawesome.com, because you can decide to be awesome at any time, at any place in your life. So if you have any questions, or if you want to reach out to us, you want to get involved in what we're doing, or if you just want to learn more, decidetobeawesome.com. And you can find me anywhere on social media, and I'm happy to answer questions. You can also see us on Clubhouse, where we're having a lot of fun, having conversations and doing our thing, teaching the world and changing it. So there you go. And I'm Jon Kovach, and I am complete.
Well, thank you so much, John. I appreciate that. All right, folks. So I'm going to close out now. Thank you all. This is Dr. Anthony Criniti IV, also known as Dr. Finance. Thank you for joining the Dr. Finance Live podcast today. Here's my website is on the window, drfinance.info, as well as my 3 books here. Just if you can't see that clear, I'll read them out. The first one was The Necessity of Finance, and then followed up with The Most Important Lessons in Economics and Finance, and then The Survival of the Richest. Feel free to follow myself or my guest, Jon Kovach, today. Okay, you can follow and subscribe on all social media platforms, including wherever you're getting this from, whether it's YouTube or the podcast. And John, follow him on Clubhouse, because he's going to be a regular there. We're going to bring him back. We're going to work up some real big stages. And thank you again, folks. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, John. I appreciate you coming here today, by the way. And you're an amazing guest. So thank you, sir. I look forward to co-authoring many, many more books with you. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Take care now. Bye-bye.